My name is Aaron Isaac, and this is the story of how Jewish life returned openly to Sweden. In 1774, I was 44 years old and living in Mecklenburg, Germany. For Jewish families, life there was burdened by heavy taxation, strict economic restrictions, and constant uncertainty. Opportunities were few, and advancement was deliberately limited. Yet I possessed a skill that few men could master: seal engraving. I could carve royal crests and official insignias into stone and metal with the precision required by governments, merchants, and military officers alike. During the 7 Years' War, Swedish officers became acquainted with my work. Several encouraged me to travel to Stockholm. Sweden, they said, lacked skilled engravers, and there I might finally find stability and prosperity. When I shared my plans in Germany, many believed I had lost my senses. Jews had effectively been barred from Sweden for generations. I did not know the language, nor the customs of the country. My own relatives and business associates warned me that I was risking everything for an impossible dream. I arrived in Stockholm in June of 1774 and quickly encountered the reality of Swedish law. The mayor, Carl Fredrik Ikeman, admired my craftsmanship, yet informed me that I could not remain in the country unless I converted to Lutheran Christianity. No profession, no royal permission was worth abandoning the faith of my fathers. I prepared to leave Sweden and believed my journey had come to an end before it had truly begun. But Ikeman understood the value of my work and brought my case before King Gustav III. The king granted me an audience, examined my engravings, and agreed to allow me to remain in Sweden under special royal protection. Yet I presented a condition of my own. I told the king that a Jewish man could not live entirely alone. If I were to remain in Sweden, I wished to bring my family and enough Jewish men to establish a minyan, the quorum required for communal prayer and religious life. On May 2nd, 1775, the king granted that request through a formal letter of protection. For the first time in generations, Jews were permitted to live openly in Sweden without renouncing their faith. I brought my family, my brother, and my business associates to Stockholm, and together we laid the foundations of what would become the Swedish Jewish community. But the reality of daily life was far from easy. Many among the local population viewed us with suspicion. We lived as outsiders, isolated both socially and economically, always aware that prejudice could quickly become hostility. As our congregation grew, disputes emerged over leadership, authority, and religious practice. My decisions were frequently challenged. When I personally purchased the first Jewish burial plots at Kungsholmen, what became known as Aronsberg, certain rivals within the congregation resented my influence so deeply that they refused burial there and instead purchased a separate cemetery at Kronoberg. There were lawsuits, business rivalries, and years of bitter disagreement. Many expected me to answer hostility with hostility. Instead, I focused on my work, my family, and the survival of the community we had built. Over time, my engraving business prospered, while many of those conflicts gradually faded into history. I lived long enough to see Jewish life take root in Sweden. What began with one craftsman seeking permission to remain became a permanent community, one that survived hardship, suspicion, and internal division alike. They said a Jewish home could not be built openly in Sweden, yet we built one.